Turn up the dive, feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, so I remember I share and subscribe. Join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, the secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Monsters on the Edge. I am your host, Barnaby Jones from Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society, and we are live today on the Untold Radio Network. That's right, guys. We are live in studio. Good morning, Lee. Welcome to the show. As we go forward, guys, if you have any questions or comments throughout the show, if you're watching live, throw them in the comments section and we will get to them as soon as possible. You guys, if you are anywhere in Wisconsin, come on out next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, February 9th. We are going to be at the Oshkosh Beyond the Veil Expo. I'll be doing a presentation at 10:30 for them. It's going to be a great time. Angela Zabel will be there doing a gallery reading, and some of my past guests will be there as well doing some other presentations. So it's going to be a great time. Come on out and learn about CE5 of alien contact. That'll be fun. And then, guys, coming up April 11th through the 13th, we are going to be at the Midwest Meta Paracon in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Come on out to that. It's going to be a huge 3-day event with all kinds of great people. Ronnie LeBlanc from Expedition Bigfoot is going to be there. Jason Hawes and Sherry from the Ghost Hunters, Aaron Sagers, Mike Ricksecker, just to name a few. There's a whole list on the website. Go over there and check it out. Then, guys, in May, we are going to be at the Wisconsin Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Convention. It is Friday, May 9th through Sunday, May 11th, and it's going to be a great weekend. We have a VIP meet and greet and Bigfoot expedition Friday evening. Saturday is the convention. You can come out and meet all of our great guests there, as well as over 30 plus vendors and exhibits. It's going to be a great time on Saturday. And then Sunday as well, we have paranormal investigations. So something for everybody. It's going to be a huge event. If you can't make it out in person, head on over to the website and get yourself a virtual ticket where you can stream all of the presentations throughout the day, so you won't miss a thing. And then, guys, in June, we head down to Chicago for the Chicago Paranormal Convention. It's going to be awesome, as well as we have a lot of library presentations and some other smaller events and stuff as well. Head on over to wisconsincaps.com, click on the public events page, and check it out there.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned, plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
My finger jumped the gun. I didn't even get to say, if you want to show your support for all things here on the Untold Radio Network, here's how. And my finger already was clicking. All right, guys, we're off to a great start here today on the show. We are live, so if you guys have questions or comments, like I said, throw them in the comments section. We'll get to them as soon as we can. My guest today is Kelly Milner Halls. She has written weird and provocative nonfiction for young readers for the past 30 years, using high-interest topics like Bigfoot, dinosaurs, and other mysteries to teach critical thinking skills and evaluate the skills and evaluation of reliable evidence, including tales of the cryptids, In Search of Sasquatch, Alien Investigation, Ghostly Evidence, Cryptid Creatures, a Field Guide, and more new titles coming in 2025 that we're going to talk about today. Cryptid Creatures, an underwater field guide. So cool. Cryptid Babies, and a board book for little mystery lovers. Ooh, all right. So, with no further ado, please welcome to the show, Kelly. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Happy to have you. I've noticed there's a slight lag here, so so we're all on the same page here. There we go. Awesome. So is really cool. I'm excited to talk to you.
It's just the otherworldly ghost interfering.
Yes, exactly. You would not believe how true that statement is. I do on Thursdays the Paranormal Spectrum, and I can talk about aliens all I want. I can talk about any numerous topics, but anytime I have a spirit medium on, or we talk about really like weird ghost stuff, the whole internet goes down, the lights flash, and you just bizarre stuff happens. And it's only when we talk about those topics.
The other side is just excited.
I hope they don't hate the show, so
they love
it. Very cool. Well, I'm excited. 30 years you have been writing about inspiring the youth and getting people interested in this stuff. How did you get started in this?
When I was a little kid, I liked to watch documentaries with my father, and we'd watch Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, and I would say, Dad, do you think they're real? And because my dad was a physics mathematician, he worked for IBM and he helped send man to the moon. He would say, I guess we need more evidence. Now, he could have shot me down, because that's what most people do when you have a kid that's curious about weird things. But he didn't, because he knows that everything is based on the evidence you can gather. So when I grew up, I studied journalism in college. Thought I was going to write for grown-ups. Turns out grown-ups are boring. Not us. These weird, cool grown-ups are great. But I didn't want to write about street construction and electing a mayor. Mm-hmm. I wanted to write about weird stuff. So I decided to write for kids as much as I do. So even though I'm an old lady now, I'm 67 years old. I'm still a kid in my head. And I love these weird subjects. And so do the kids. And these weird subjects come with really surprising information that I wasn't prepared for. When I first wrote my first cryptozoology book, which is one called Tales of the Cryptids, my goal was to prove they were all fake. That's what I thought I was going to do. But as I go into my research skills, the same way I studied in college, same way as writing for adults, I started to realize, well, some cryptids are fake, and some cryptids might be real, but most of them are maybe. And if it was maybe, I didn't tell the kids it wasn't real. That would be a lie. If it was maybe, I gave them the evidence for and the evidence against, and I left it for them to decide. That's why my books, even though they're written for kids, they're very accessible to adults. I saw somebody who went on Jeopardy and won, and they said, how did you prep to be so good? And he said, I read kids' books. Because if you read a kid's book about a topic, you get the core information without all the razzle-dazzle. Mm-hmm. And so when I write for a kid, it's almost exactly the way I wrote for newspapers, except for I define different words as we go along that they might not know. And I fell in love with cryptozoology. It was just fantastic. And at one point I got to go up to Maine to do some school visits. And I did the school visits with Lauren Coleman. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get any cooler cryptozoologically than Lauren Coleman. He's great.
Yes.
I got to see the museum before it was in a museum. It was in his house. So I just fell in love with it.
Absolutely.
Weird
Lauren
stuff.
Coleman is,
and explore the things that may or may not be true.
Lauren Coleman is great. I've got
he's the best.
To meet him once, yeah. And my first cryptozoology book was Cryptozoology A to Z by Lauren Coleman. So
absolutely. I've got that, of course, too.
Yeah. I do these interviews, and you usually can see like bookshelves in the background and stuff. And almost every single one that has a bookshelf in the background, you see that book sitting there. So it's a very prominent book in our literature. So.
Well, I'm in my Zoom room, I call it, the room where I do video conferences. And you see my back. They always say make a nice, boring background. Not for me. I have weird stuff in my background. But my living room has all my adult research books. And there's nothing but books and TV. Used to be a giant lizard there, but he passed away.
Oh, a real one.
I probably have a giant lizard ghost wandering around.
There you go. Very cool. Very cool. So the other thing we were talking before we got on the air here is you don't just, like write and research. You've actually gone out and done some investigating as well. Tell us about that.
Well, I live in a place called Spokane, Washington, which is eastern Washington, close to Idaho, which means we're forest, and more forest. There's a lot of wilderness up here. anytime I drive anywhere, especially to northern Washington or northwestern Washington, I keep my eyes open because I went Bigfoot hunting here in Washington twice. And then I went to a big Bigfoot conference in Yakima, Washington, where Bob Gimlin was there. He's terrific. And a whole bunch of other people. And we did a mini search then. But I haven't found the big guy yet. I am firmly convinced he's real. That's not a fact. We don't have enough evidence yet to prove it. But there are so many smart people, not crazy tinfoil hat people, which I have nothing against, but smart people who have seen this. In fact, I did some school visits in Hoopa, California, Eureka. Mm-hmm. And it was a reservation school, the Hoopa people. And the teacher was a Hoopa guy who'd grown up in the woods. And he'd gone off and gotten his degree and his teaching certificate. And he came back. He married a marine biologist who was also Hoopa. Came back. And after I finished my presentation, I said, "Have you seen Bigfoot?" And he laughed. And he said, "You have to understand, to me, Bigfoot is just like a bear or a wolf. It's just an animal. Mm-hmm. It's something I've grown up with. Because we live in the woods. We hunt. That's part of our tribal culture. And I've seen him so many times. But it's not a surprise to us. It's something we're familiar with." I said, so he's absolutely doesn't need any convincing. And I think if I'd seen one, that I would go out on a limb and say, "No, it's real. I saw it. I have not yet seen it." But I always keep my eyes open. And if you don't believe Bigfoot could be out there, then you haven't been to the right wilderness areas. Because if you come to Washington State and drive northwest, you're going to see those woods are thick. And I could get lost in about 5 minutes. And I'm a chubby little rider. If I were a 7-foot tall guy with a gait that could take me a long way really quick, I'm not going to be seen unless I want to be. And that's, I'm leaning hard toward thinking Bigfoot is real. I'm not going to say he's real until I've seen one. But there sure are a lot of smart people who have a lot of great stories to tell.
Absolutely. We were talking also before the show a little bit about, you've written a lot of stuff. Let's see, like we have just a broad variety here. You do animals and mysteries and dinosaurs and cryptids and just, I couldn't present all your books that we got. I was looking through Amazon and stuff, and the list just goes on and on and on here. But you've also written about aliens and paranormal. Now, we were talking a little bit about how you've gone on these ghost hunts and stuff, and you're trying to make it less scary for these people. How do you make aliens less scary? Because for me, I'm interested in all this stuff, to be honest, ever since a young age. And I go looking for it, on a regular basis on the weekends with my team and that. And I hate aliens. They are the one thing. I'm like, Bigfoot, man, he's out in the woods. I can run. I can maybe outrun him and live. Ghosts, well, they're just in haunted houses, whatever. But aliens, they can come to you anywhere, anytime, any place, and just pick you up. And that's always kind of freaked me out. So how do you make those accessible?
After I wrote Tales of the Cryptids, which looks like this, that was my first crypto book. I said to myself, what else have they been lying to us about? Because if Bigfoot might be real, what else is there? And I thought Area 51. So I dove deep into Area 51. I even went to a MUFON convention. MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network. And I went to their convention. It was in Denver that year. So I flew to Denver, and it was 3 days, like from 9 in the morning till 10 at night. It was intensive. And there were serious, serious people. The MUFON experts are, military officers and physicists, and it was remarkable. It was amazing. And I left. I came away thinking there are UFOs. And I was already leaning that way because there sure are a lot of people that have seen it, just like seeing Bigfoot. So I wrote Alien Investigation. What did he do with it? There it is, which looks like this. Because I was at a school, and the kids were writing about Bigfoot. We just had our presentation. They were writing their fictional stories about encounters with Bigfoot. And this kid in 3rd grade came up to me and said, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure. Is it about Bigfoot?" And he said, "No, it's about a ghost." And I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And he said, "Well, a little girl died in my house in a fire. And she comes to me with a melty face, and it scares me." And I said, "You know what? That would scare me too." I said, "Well, let's think about I said, when I was little, and this is true, I had terrible nightmares, like night terrors, where it feels so real. He goes, "No, it is real. It's not a dream." And he started to blow me off. And I said, okay, it's not a dream. Let's talk. And I said, if I had a girl with a melty face coming to me, I would talk to her. And he says, well, what would you say? I said, I'd say, you know what? I'm really sorry this happened to you, but I didn't do it. So can you stop scaring me? Maybe she'd say, okay. And I have to say, what brain trust thought it was a good idea to tell a 3rd grader that a little girl died in a fire in his house? That's the first questionable. So we talked, and I said, if it was me and she kept coming, I would talk to her. And then you're going to have to learn to ignore. And he rolled his eyes at me again. And I said, no, hang on. When I was little, and this is also true, I had a big sister. I was a terrible little sister. And my passion in life was to hide in the hallways until she walked down and jump out and scare her. She would wet her pants. I would laugh. It'd be great. And he laughed too. And I said, that's kind of silly, huh? What a bad sister. I said, do you know when I stopped jumping out at her? And he said, no, when? And I said, when she stops being scared. It wasn't fun anymore. So I stopped jumping out at her. So you're going to have to jump way ahead with your ghost friend to where she's not scaring you either. And he says, yeah, but she's scary. I said, I know, but, you know, if a zombie came to your window, it'd be really scary, right? Yeah. What about the second night? Still scary? Yes. What about the third night? Still scary? Fourth, fifth, sixth. What about the 25th night? You still scared, or are you thinking same old zombie? He says, probably thinking same old zombie. I said, you got to skip to that day. And he said, okay, I can do that. And that's when I decided I have to write a ghost book. And I wasn't going to, because you can't prove ghosts are real and you can't prove they're not real. But I figured kids needed some tools, some information that wasn't just saying there's a demon in your living room, which may be possible, but was saying most ghostly investigations are not dangerous. They're just amazing. So the only thing I could do was to go with the paranormal team. So when I did a school visit in Missouri, at night I'd go with the local paranormal team. And I did that for 4 years because that's the only way I could do reasonable research on ghosts. Now, in 4 years, I didn't meet one demon. Maybe I just don't interest demons. Maybe they say she's an old lady, she'll be with us soon enough. But I can tell the kids, I didn't meet one. Did I have ghostly adventures? I did. And there was some evidence that I couldn't deny. EVPs. Supposedly in San Diego, I went to a haunted house, and the kids supposedly stayed in the kitchen. So we went down to the kitchen, and we spread out toys, and we read a picture book. I think it was Grover's Circus or something like that. And then the paranormal woman was doing her EVPs with her little tape recorder, electronic voice phenomenon. I know your audience knows, but just in case. And she's asking questions, and most of the night she's asking questions, and I hear static, no words, and they say, oh, they just said this, and I'm going, apparently I don't speak that language. But when we went to the kitchen, she says, did you see the pretty pictures? And when she played it back, I kid you not, a little kid's voice says, I seen them. And my mind was blown. Now, I had always thought it was possible, and I'd done so much research, read so many books, watched so many TV shows. Zach Bagans' Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters and Kindred Spirits is my favorite. Thank you, Adam. So anyway, super interesting. So I got to tell the kids what happened to me, what I had found. And I could tell them about the charlatans, the people that try to lie to make money. But you have to tell both sides of that story. And there's a lot of people that are doing very interesting work that may prove that the next life is there and that they are talking to us. I tend to think if you have a ghost in your living room, it's probably your great-great-grandma. And you don't know that person, but they know you. And they're checking on you. And that's not so scary to kids. If it's a grandma, okay, that's not so bad. Now, maybe there are things to look out for, and we don't want to encourage kids to do things that invite ornery spirits. But if it's just a relative. Now, I do have one more story. Do you have time for one more ghost story?
Absolutely, yeah.
When I was researching the book, and I watched endless episodes of Ghost Hunters, we're watching a Ghost Hunter episode where someone scratched them. And I always say, they never say if it hurts. Because I'd never seen one. I have since seen that. Wonder if the scratches hurt like fingers, which would be hard because ghosts have no mass. So I'm not sure they can do that. Or is it electrical? Is that why they got a scratch? Is there some use of electricity? So we're sitting there, my daughter, who's an adult lady, all of a sudden, a little red ring appears around her finky. And I said, where did that come from? She says, I do not know. And I said, does it hurt? And she said, no. And that circle disappeared. It was as if the ghosts were answering my question right there. Now, that doesn't mean other people don't have pain. But in that instance, it was, but the same thing in my research, we had an Xbox up on the wall because we're gamers, and something kept turning that Xbox on. And I finally said, okay, I accept that I have a ghost in my living room, and that's great. You're welcome to stay. But can you stop turning my Xbox on? Because I'm afraid you're going to make us go red ring, and I don't want to buy another Xbox. And they stopped. Go figure.
Yeah, there's a lot of explanations as to why your Xbox could turn on or off. There's a lot of RF frequencies bouncing around and stuff.
Absolutely.
But if that's the case, and now you ask it to stop and it stops, well, then that adds a little bit more of a level to these stories of interesting.
And that's true of the EVPs. It's possible that police radios or radio station waves interfere and sometimes imprint on your tape recorder, but it wouldn't be a little kid. And it wouldn't be a little kid responding to the pictures in the book. So sometimes it's like, wow. Yeah,
there's a lot of little kid radio DJs out there these days.
I know, they're making big bucks, right?
Big bucks. Get them while they're young. They got that Kids Bop station. Very cool. No, that makes sense. We do a lot of investigations for people's houses and stuff, my team, and you're absolutely right. You go into these locations and they're like, oh, these things are flying around and stuff's moving and that, and you go, well, what's actually happening? Oh, my grandma's picture keeps falling off the wall.
Which could be possible, because that wouldn't take quite as much energy. I'm just not sure ghosts can throw a TV.
Not a TV.
I mean, I know a lot of stories say they have, and maybe, I don't know, it could have been a little earthquake, and maybe a little earthquake with a little ghostly push, maybe. But you have to remember, ghosts don't have mass. They don't have these. They don't have this. So it seems like, and I listened to a lecture from Alison Dubois, the medium. I was looking, are there really mean ghosts? Dangerous ghosts? And she said there are some. She said, but mostly they're ghosts. If you are a cranky old sot when you were alive, you're going to be a cranky ghost. And so usually they're just cranky. And she said some cowboy, she was staying at a hotel in Arizona, and this cowboy kept waking her up with like a stabbing feeling in her back. She woke up and said, look, I see you, but knock it off. You don't have to be like that. You can just talk to me. And I thought, that's reason. I reasoned with my toddlers. I think I would reason with a ghost.
Absolutely. We have a couple comments and stuff over here I want to grab while we're running here.
Great.
Lee would like to know, do you donate any of your books to the Dolly Parton Books for Kids?
I certainly would at any point that she might make that request. I think she curates that list pretty carefully and picks the books, but I would love it. But I also bring, when I do school visits, I never require my schools to sell books because there are too many kids that can't afford books. And I don't want kids feeling bad because their economy. I was a single mom and my kids were those kids. But I always bring a couple of extra books in my bag. And if there's a kid that just needs that book and, you get that energy from that kid, you can feel this kid's had a rough year. And I'll say, hey, listen, come here. I got something for you. And I'll hand them the book and they just come. It's just Christmas in September. So I do try to give away books to kids whenever possible. Also, when you're a writer and you publish with a traditional publisher, they give you something called author copies. And it's just free copies of your own book. And they give you like 20 or 15 or whatever. And I try to give those away. You're supposed to use them to promote the book, and I do. But I also use them to make sure people that can't get the book can get the book.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Megan says, I agree that it's great bringing awareness and excitement for kids. One of your books is actually what started her obsession. How to go from there?
Well, you know what?
There you go. Well, here you go. Hang on. How can you investigate, research the paranormal, cryptozoology seriously? There you go. There's your
If
question.
I were you, I would look for organizations in your hometown community.
Mhm.
And you may not know they exist now, but I guarantee you they're out there. Because when I go to a school and I talk about cryptids or ghosts or UFOs, almost 80% of the hands go up saying, my dad has a ghost story. My dad saw Bigfoot. I think there was a UFO over my house. It's a huge percentage of the kids in my class. There may be 20% who haven't or who haven't heard about it. That means 80% of our population is right on the same frequency as you are. Maybe you're a little more energetic about your pursuit, like I have been. So I would call my local paranormal team, look up, like I live in Spokane, so I would type Spokane Paranormal Investigators, and you'll find them. We have a guy who gives tours here in Spokane. He wears a big top hat and he's in period clothes, and he shows you all the haunted places in Spokane. But he also does paranormal experimenting. He also goes exploring. So I could easily contact that guy, because if you write books, you have a website. And if you have a website, you have email, because they want to be invited.
Mhm.
And you can email those people and say, listen, I'd really love to go on a Bigfoot hunt, or I'd like to explore some haunted places. Do you have any suggestions? Because you don't want to ask for something for free because everybody's busy. But nobody minds answering an email. So that's what I would do. Go to your Google or whatever browser you use, Firefox, whatever. Type in your city, your topic, cryptozoology, UFOs, ghosts. And you'll see a list of people that might know just a tiny bit more than you do. And you email those people and ask for direction. Nobody minds helping somebody who's going to join their kindred, who's going to be like them. And if they do, then you don't need them in your life anyway. But that's what I would do. We're lucky. I grew up without the internet. We had encyclopedias, which are, nothing. But you have the internet. So use it to your advantage. And most people won't mind. And if the first one does, you go to the next one. And they also, if they have websites, they're going to talk about where they're going to be. I saw these great places you're going to be. Holy cow. And I want to come to Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin. I've been to Madison many times, and it's terrific. Go to those conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to meet the local paranormal teams and the local cryptozoology teams when you go to the conference. Now, it will cost you a little money for the tickets, but it's a great day, or a great 2 days, I guess, is yours. And it's so much fun to be with people that think like you do.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to ask people, how do I get started? How do I do this? And they will help you. You can email me and I can give you some information about what I would do if you forget. So just my website is wondersofweird.com, because I like weird stuff. But ask your local teams. They'll help you.
Absolutely. And your links are in the show notes for this episode.
Thank you
So
much.
wherever you're watching and listening, just go click on the more information down below, and you can find all the links to Kelly as well. And you are absolutely right. We've talked so many times on my show about, the conferences and stuff. Are people that, people have had encounters and stuff feel so alienated by this stuff, whether it be paranormal, Bigfoot, cryptids, what have you. And you go to these conferences and you are surrounded by all the people that have had the same experiences that you have, and they're willing to talk. You meet so many great people. I don't know what state Megan is from here, but from running this show, I know there are teams of paranormal,
Everywhere.
Bigfoot, Mothman, Dogman, cryptids of all sorts in every state. This stuff is out there, people interested in it, and you just reach out, check them out, make sure they're legit, not just average people doing whatever.
Gather your money.
Yeah. But look them over, and if you feel comfortable with them and stuff, send them an email, like you said, talk to them and meet them at a conference or something and go from there.
And
Be
you
safe.
can tell if they're serious. For example, the graphics that you put up about the conferences that you're going to be attending in Chicago and Wisconsin, Eau Claire, they're professionally made.
Mm-hmm.
You know the difference. When the internet first debuted, all the websites were horrifyingly amateur because nobody knew how to do it.
Nope.
But if their graphics, if their websites look professionally created, they probably were. That means that they're serious about what they're doing. If they look like, just a blog, you might want to check something else. Blogs are great, but you don't have to be credible to have a blog.
Correct. Yeah. The side comment to this is how to turn it into a career. And from somebody, I mean, you're an author and I do the show, we do research, I do conventions, libraries, all that as well. It is very hard to turn it into a career.
Yes. I've been very happy my whole career, but I've never been rich and I never will be.
Absolutely.
There's more than money to life. And I love my life. I love what I do. But yeah, you probably won't make a lot of money unless you end up on Travel Channel.
Yeah. And I've done a couple television shows now, and trust me, it's not what it's cracked up to be. It is a lot different than what you see on TV, the stuff that goes on there. But it's definitely anything that you want to do in life, no matter what, if you work hard and put your mind to it, you can achieve it. So,
and everything's a trade-off. I chose nonfiction for kids, which is the least amount of money you could possibly make in publishing. But it's my purpose. It's why I'm here. I love kids. I love treating kids like they're intelligent young people instead of babies. And it's just, fantastic. And they're the future. They're going to grow up. They're going to be the ones that release all the stuff that the White House knows about UFOs. Because they're going to grow up and they're going to remember. I mean, and I can't tell you, Tales of the Cryptids came out in 2006. That's been out almost 20 years. So my kids that started reading that when they were 11 are 30 now. And they're doing cryptozoology. Nate Brislin, who's helping Lauren Coleman with the Cryptozoology Museum, he fell in love through Tales of the Cryptids, which makes me so happy. Because those kids, if you don't insult them, then they're going to absorb information and they're going to grow up and do what they will with it. And I don't have any, I don't want to manipulate their choices, but I want them to know that they have choices. And even if it's not your job, maybe you're in, radio, maybe you're in advertising, but your passion is looking for Bigfoot. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people play pickleball. Other people look for Bigfoot, and both have completely valid reasons to do it. And both are fantastically fun. Looking for Bigfoot to me was fun. I wasn't scared because I grew up in the woods and I grew up with all kinds of animals. And I learned as long as you know what to avoid. Like I grew up in a place called Houston, Texas, where every venomous snake in North America lives and thrives. And I ran into lots and lots of venomous snakes, but I knew what to do. If I ran into a bear, I know what to do. So if I run into a Bigfoot, I'm going to take my chances. I'm just going to be little and not make eye contact and try to be quiet. And if I die from a Bigfoot, what a cool way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make
That's
all
what
the
I've
news.
always thought.
My kids will make lots of money.
Then you'll become rich and famous and have your show on TV of how you got killed by a Bigfoot.
And I'll come and talk to you in one of your paranormal investigations.
There you go.
Hey, it's me, Kel.
There you go. Megan says, Tales of the Cryptids was the obsession starter for me.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm so happy to hear that, especially since I thought I was going to prove they were all fake when I started writing it. I thought people are lying to kids and I'm going to prove all these things are fake. And my mind was completely and utterly blown because that's not true. And I hope you found that when I couldn't prove it was real or fake, that I gave you information, not opinions. Because I write nonfiction. I'm not an editorial writer. I'm gathering information and I'm passing it on to young readers who deserve the best possible research that I can do. And when I was a journalism student, we had to find 3 credible sources before we could include it in an article or a book. Now it's 2, but I'm still the 3 source rule. So even when I'm writing cryptozoology books or ghost books or alien books, I need 3 sources. Like when I wrote Alien Investigation, my editor emailed me and said, how come there's no alien abductions in this book? And I said, because it doesn't meet the 3-source rule. I mean, there's one couple that was a 2-source, but not 3. Plus, do you really want me to put in a book for 10 to 12-year-olds that an alien can come to your bedroom, take you out of your bed, do experiments, hypnotize you so you don't remember and put you back in bed, and mom won't hear it? Do you really want me to put that in a book? And it's not that I don't believe abductions happen. There's a lot of convincing stories. There's no 3 sources, and it can't be verified. So because we're talking young readers, and I didn't want to scare them, I wanted to inform them. In fact, I got a review for Alien Investigation. More boring than your neighbor's vacation slides for the 3rd time. He said I drained all the color out of a terrifying subject, and he's right. I wasn't out to scare kids. I was out to give them information. And it's funny because my point of view is what most people's point of view is now that the feds have released some great UFO documentation. I was just a little ahead of my time.
What do you believe? Do you think that these things are interdimensional or extraterrestrial? Do you believe that they come from another planet, or do you believe they come from another layer of Earth?
I think it could be either, because we know in physics that time bends. And if the folds get close together, there must be a way to jump from one place to another. But I also think there may be transport holes. There may be, wormholes that we just don't know about yet. I think most of the UFOs that we see are probably investigating. They're just keeping an eye on us. We're a very primitive species because we kill each other. And they might be thinking, let's keep some control of these guys. Let's not let them ruin our Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just studying us. When we send a Mars rover, we're not trying to blow up Mars. We're just collecting information. Maybe they are too. There's very little evidence that they mean us harm. I know that there are people that firmly disagree with me, and they may be right. I'm not saying that I'm the one. But I haven't met very many people that have been horribly damaged by UFOs. I know there are stories that are terrifying, and I would not want to be abducted. In fact, when I went to a mutual UFO network, MUFON, I went to their convention, and I went to the lectures on abductions and the psychological assistance that's necessary to get people past that trauma. And it was so intense and serious psychological professionals. And so when I came back to my house from Denver, where the conference was, I would have to let my dogs out to go to the bathroom at night. And I was terrified. I was so scared they were going to abduct me. And then I figured, no, I'm too old. I don't have any viable eggs. So they probably won't want to abduct me. And then I got to the point where I thought, well, if you abduct me and make sure you bring me back, then I'm fine with it. And once I processed the fear, I wouldn't mind seeing if that was possibly true, but I want to come home. That would be my concern, that I wouldn't want to go wherever they live forever.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think even with the abductions and stuff, as traumatizing it is for a person. I mean, look, if you flip the scale on this, look at like what we do. If you go out to Africa and you capture a zebra and you take it, you do some DNA testing on it, make sure it's healthy, and you throw it back in the wild.
Yeah.
That's traumatizing for the poor zebra. I mean, he has no idea what happened.
Put his head on your wall. I mean, we're a strange species. I hope that it is like Star Trek, that there are other groups of beings that have figured things out a little more than we have. And they're actually nice to each other. Mostly we're nice to each other. Regardless, let's not even bring up politics, because my dad was a Republican and my mom was a Democrat, and I grew up loving everybody. So I don't have those issues, but we have a lot of confrontation right now, and we need to get back on track. Absolutely. Regardless of which side you're on. I love everybody.
Well, you have a new book coming out this year, and I'm super excited for this because we always talk about Bigfoot and stuff on this show, but you're coming out with a underwater sea creature cryptid book. And we've all heard about Nessie and the Kraken and stuff. So I wanted to ask you, in your book, what other new creatures and stuff are we going to get to learn about and talk about?
Well, this is the book that started that. Rick Spears, who is my illustrator, fantastic illustrator. We did Tales of the Cryptids. He did Alien Investigation. He did In Search of Sasquatch. He's a great illustrator. And we wanted to do a follow-up to Tales of the Cryptids that had a little more meat on the bone. And we finally got the chance, and it was this, Cryptid Creatures, a field guide. And you see it's heavy, 200 and some odd pages, 50 different cryptids. Rick drew 3 illustrations for each cryptid, an adult, a baby, and a skeletal feature. And Rick Spears is a fantastic illustrator. Let me show you. Okay, this is cool. Loveland Frog.
Yep.
That's the adult. Wait till you see the baby. The little tadpole.
Oh, he's cute.
I know everybody falls in love with it. So this did very well. And the publisher is like, holy cow, who knew that cryptids are so popular? And Rick and I said, us. So they said, what else can you do for me? And I said, well, I've always wanted to write a sea monster book. There are lots of books that say Nessie's not real. Don't worry about it. I'm not sure that's true. I think Nessie may be a giant eel. That's my theory. But I said, I want to write a sea monster book. And they said, great. So 50 sea monsters. Well, river, lake, sea monsters, water, aquatic cryptids, adult, baby, skeletal feature on each one. There are sea monsters all over the world. The overwhelming majority are serpentine, which also lends credibility to them possibly being a real species. Because part of the reason I think Bigfoot might be real is because Bigfoot shows up on almost every continent in one form or another, the same way wolves do. Arctic wolf, Mexican wolf. I think Bigfoot probably slightly size variation and coloration variations depending on their habitat. And I think that's also true of sea monsters. If there's so many serpentine sea monsters, maybe there's really an animal out there. But there are also some very surprising sea monsters. There's one that had little bear cub ears. The drawing's adorable. Wait till you see it. There's one called Trunko. And it was supposedly this giant white fur covered sea monster with an elephant's trunk and a pig snout on the end of the trunk. Now, you'd say that can't possibly be real. And I kind of lean that way too. But there are a lot of newspaper articles about this guy who owns this big territory who was walking by the beach and happened to see 2 orcas fighting with some big white furry creature. And he watched it. And then once the orcas were defeated, which blows my mind, this white creature made its way to the shore and collapsed on the beach. And this man went over to it and saw it close up to see this trunk and this white fur. And it ended up in newspapers all over the world. Is it real? I don't know. I have never seen a furry creature in the water. But mammals usually have fur unless you're a marine mammal. Maybe there's some in-between evolution. They say fish crawled out and whales went back.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. There's all kinds of surprises in the ocean. About 80% of the ocean is not explored. So we don't know what's down there. The giant squid was considered maybe real until they finally got video. The Highland gorilla was considered a cryptid until they proved it. So we need to leave some room for some remarkable things. So there are all kinds of things, all kinds of sea monsters. And I really tried to put some variety in because as I'm doing my research and all these sea monsters, river monsters, lake monsters, and all these serpentine figures, I'm thinking of my poor illustrator. He's going to be really, really sick of serpentine. So I kept looking for some of the weirder ones that were also 3-sourced. And I found some, and you're going to be surprised. And you might think they're real, and you might think they're not. And we're going to have to wait till we get more evidence. Now, these books have a rating system, a star system. If I know it's fake, it gets 1 star. If I know it's real, it gets 5 stars or 6 stars. I can't remember which one I used. But same thing in sea monsters. Some of them look pretty convincing. I saw 2021 or 22 picture from Loch Ness. And it's this fantastic picture of the skin pattern. on whatever it is that's huge in the water. And I'm looking at the skin pattern, and I'm looking at the information that says there's lots of eels in Loch Ness. And so I start doing research on eels. And dang, if that conger eel that can be beyond 20 feet long, the same skin patterns as what that picture displayed. And that's why I think the Loch Ness Monster may be a supersized eel, or a colony of supersized eel. You couldn't have one, you have groups. Now, if Loch Ness Monster turns out to be this giant eel, does that make it less? I think that's outstanding. It's still something we haven't seen before. Can't be a plesiosaur because the water's too cold. And a plesiosaur is a reptile. So when it eats, it has to have external heat to kick its metabolism in so that the food won't rot in its stomach and it'll die. So if it was a plesiosaur, we would see it at least after it eats. And maybe, I mean, there's some snakes can eat once a week or every other week. So maybe you would only see them every other week, but you would see them. They have to be out. And Loch Ness is very cold water. It was formed by a glacier, and it's still cold. But that doesn't mean there's not something super amazing in there. And there's, man, my favorite water cryptid is from Georgia. And it's called the Altamaha. It's the Altamaha River. And the Altamaha is super awesome. And my illustrator, Rick Spears, made a life-size model that is now in the Darien Visitor Center in Georgia, where Altamaha has been most often sighted. My illustrator made that great model. And that great model is why I love the Altamaha, because now she's real to me. Is she real? I don't know. There's a lot of stories.
I believe there's over 50 lakes in Wisconsin alone that have had sea monster sightings.
Same thing in Washington State. And that Cadborosaurus is pretty impressive. And that body they found a baby inside, that's pretty impressive too. And, you know, that picture is hard to deny. And there are other pictures of other things that look really similar. I don't know. I want it to be real. I think it may go extinct, or it may have already gone extinct. And that's my worry about Bigfoot too. With all these fires we're having, that's Bigfoot's habitat. So if we don't identify him, if we can't prove he's real, it'll be because the fires sent him into extinction. So all the more reason to try to be careful. Don't shoot one. Bad idea. Besides, he might be a guy in a costume. And then you're going to jail. Don't shoot one.
Good advice.
Unless he's trying to kill you. That's different.
Lee Warner would like to know, have you written a book on dragons, or do you have one coming?
I have not yet written a book on dragons because I think we've more or less confirmed that dragons aren't real. We think that probably the first dragon story started, there are lots and lots and lots of dinosaur skeletons in China, in the Mongolian desert to be specific. And because it's such a sandy, gritty place, the erosion of those fossils is cleaner. So there might be what looks like the body of a dead dragon in the middle of the Mongolian desert. And if you don't know what that strange animal was and you have no concept of prehistory, then you might say, well, it must have been a dragon. It looks like a dragon to me. And I totally agree. A lot of dinosaurs look like dragons. So I probably couldn't write a nonfiction book about dragons at this point, although I would love them to be real. My father gave me a dragon every Christmas. That was my thing when I was a kid. So I'm not sure they're real, but I could write a book about the history of dragons. That would bring it back into the nonfiction realm. And that's just what I do, and that's what people expect from me. I have more than 50 books, nonfiction books that I've written, about everything from dinosaurs to mummies to Titanic to World War II. You know, that's how you make a living, is you take almost any assignment and you make it fun. But I would love to do a dragon book just because it'd be so cool. And then I'd love to see Rick Spears as dragons because he'd be the guy I'd want to do it. He's such a good illustrator.
Very cool. Well, we are coming up on the end of our show here today. So if you guys have any last minute questions for Kelly, throw them in the comments section. It's been an absolutely amazing chat. Thank you guys for all sharing and tuning in. Get them in there before we head out here. So we talked about your sea monster book coming up later this year. What other cool books are you working on? What are you working on right now?
Well, right after that, my daughter Ness and I rewrote Cryptid Babies. And it's going to be a board book for the very smallest cryptozoology fans. Because there are a lot of kids that are getting cryptid creatures and they have little brothers and sisters. It's not scary. It's just cute and fun and sweet. And that's going to be super great. After that, I'm doing a book on axolotl,
Nice.
which is a salamander that can regrow its body parts, including brains. If you cut out a piece of its brain, it can repair it. Pretty amazing. And I'm doing a book on tardigrades, water bears. Toughest animal on the planet Earth. The biggest one is the size of a poppy seed. They can survive 400 degrees minus 300 degrees. Take their water away, they can live up to 50 years. So they said, well, if they're so tough, let's send them to space. No water, no air. Extreme heat, extreme cold, ultraviolet rays. Sent them up there, brought the capsule back down. Tardigrades, hi, we're fine. We're fine. They come in 7 different colors. I mean, they're just remarkable. So, more weird stuff.
Absolutely.
And I hope more cryptozoology and UFOs and ghosts. But if I write more about them, I will be watching you and whatever you write or create. Because I can't get enough of it.
No, that's amazing. You know, like I do a cryptozoology A to Z or cryptozoology 101 presentations. And I always tell people, you know, look at all these animals we know exist, you know, and just some of the stuff you're talking about there with the tardigrades and the axolotls and all that stuff. Like these things are science fiction as it is. Like all the stuff that we're learning about them. And you're telling me that Bigfoot can't exist because it's too big of an animal to eat that much. It wouldn't survive.
Or too big to hide.
Yeah, I'm looking at this stuff going, man, you don't know nothing about this.
Well, we almost never see a bear in the woods, but we know they're real. You know? And if a bear dies in the woods, it's gone in 3 days because the scavengers take care of it. So maybe Bigfoot's bury their dead, or maybe the scavengers take care of their bodies. I suspect they bury their dead because they're an intelligent species. We don't put great grandma out with the trash. Maybe they don't either.
Absolutely.
I'm willing to believe. I want to see one so bad.
I don't know what this is. How many flavors are these gummy water bears?
Well, I don't think they have flavors because I haven't seen any gummy water bears, although I would certainly buy that candy and I would eat it up crazy, especially if they made them sour. If they were like Sour Patch Kids, I would eat those gummy water bears. And they'd be really cute. They're these cute little segmented little worms with 8 legs and claws on the end of their legs. They're so cute. They have little mouths that are straws that puncture their food so they can suck out the guts. It's disgusting and wonderful all at once, and I love them.
This is awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, you know, the axolotl is everywhere nowadays. You walk into Walmart, you walk into any store. It's just everything is that character. Everything is Sasquatch you find nowadays, and just these so many weird creatures that, you know, were so obscure for so long that you never, like, nobody knew what an axolotl was, and now everybody knows what it is because there's stuffed animals and plushes and
but there's no book. There's
Everything.
care and feeding of axolotl, but no book about their origins. They were discovered by the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm.
When the Aztecs moved and put their new capital city in the middle of an island in a big lake, they discovered axolotls. And not only were they super cute to look at, apparently they were really delicious. I couldn't eat one. They're too cute.
I know. Yeah.
But same thing with tardigrades. Tardigrades are remarkable. I mean, there's so much weird out there to explore right in our own community. And then, of course, extraterrestrials and otherworldly creatures. I love them too. I'm pretty sure ghosts are probably real, but I'm not scared of them. I think they're pretty awesome. Absolutely. But I've never met a scary ghost. Please don't come to my house.
Absolutely. Well, that is our show for this week. Looks like we're all good with comments and stuff over there, but I want to give you the opportunity for all the, the aspiring cryptozoologists and paranormal researchers and stuff out there. What is your advice for them? What final thought do you want to leave everybody with today?
Hang on tight to your critical thinking skills. You're going to hear that. You're going to go, I'm not sure what that means. It means prove it. You're not going to fall for any piece of nonsense just because someone says it happens. You're also not going to discount that person and their experience, but you're going to look for credible evidence that proves that they can be trusted. You don't want to use Uncle Bob's crazy website to write a book because Uncle Bob can say anything he wants. He's not accountable to anyone. You want to go to people that are paid to tell the truth and will get fired if they don't tell the truth, which is absolutely true of me. So you want to keep your critical thinking skills engaged in any kind of fringe information that you're looking for. Don't fall for nonsense. But once you get rid of the nonsense, then you're left with the things that are hard to argue with. And it also backs you up personally. If something happens and you can explain to people, no, I did the research, I eliminated the nonsense. This is why I'm leaning towards thinking it's real. Hang tight to those critical thinking skills so that the information you get is reliable and you can trust it and the people you care about can trust it too. That's my best advice. But don't let anybody scare you away from it. It's super interesting, no matter what you discover.
Absolutely. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.
Often, way too often. Thanks, Barnaby. This was fun.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you very much for your work with inspiring new kids and new generations and stuff. I appreciate it and keep up the great work. And I look forward to seeing your new sea monster book come out this fall.
Send me that address. I'll send you a copy.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Take care.
All right. You take care. All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments and questions throughout the show. Make sure you check out the show notes. You can find links to Kelly's website and her Amazon books as well if you're looking for any of the books that were talked about on today's show. And make sure you check out her new books that are coming out. It sounds like some really cool stuff, especially the axolotls, because those guys are just cute and fun. So until next time, guys, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, and share all things here on the Untold Radio Network and Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. Until next week, guys, I'll see you on the edge.